Hello there. I think I've got it on private. I think I've got this on private. I don't know if I have or not. I don't know. But I thought I'll use my camcorder this time on the computer rather than. Oh no, I've just got a notification saying you've gone live. I thought I'd put it on private, but anyway, yep. I'm just going to waffle. Just it don't matter if no one watches. I don't care. But I was going to just do a vlog like living a lie just to keep going, right? So how many people, and I know I've done this, right? But how many people have to lie just to survive? And if you think about this, there's so many different scenarios. So, for example, are you lying to your partner about loving them because you're too scared to tell them the truth that you don't because you know they'll say get out and then you've got nowhere to live? So, there's one little thing. So, are you having to pretend that you like that person when you don't really have feelings for them anymore? Have you got a group of friends that you like, I don't really like hanging out with them anymore, but I'm a people pleaser and they need me because I offer something that they want, but I just dare say I don't want to be in this group anymore. And so you're just stuck there because you don't know how to leave. It's a funny thing, you know. I think everybody at some point has actually lied just to for their own safety, or to please other people. It's like this thing of was it good for you, dear? And you're like, yeah, it was great, but inside you're thinking it was crap. But you don't want to hurt the feelings, so we all we all do it at some point. Is just not tell the truth. And how many people can even do this? But some people can. They can go into a relationship, they can go into a job, they can walk into anything and pretend that it's what they want, and you are what I want. This job is what I want. This is the house I want. But really deep down inside, you don't want it. You just don't have anything else. And so you'll put yourself out there and tell some fibs to get yourself what you need, because we need shelter, we need money, we need food, we need somewhere safe to be, and we need to be around safe people and safe environments. So how many times do we have to lie just to please ourselves so we can have what we need? And I know I've done it in jobs a lot. Like I'll be in a job that I don't enjoy and I don't like it and I don't like some of the staff there, but I'll pretend I do because I need the money. So I think you have sometimes you have to do it for survival. And I don't know. I have seen so many scenarios of people who they've even said things like I'll fake it till I make it, because it's the it's the only thing you can do in life, because we can't just always have what we want. We can't always be where we want to be and have all the things that we have on our wish list. So sometimes we have to pretend that we're happy with what we have, even though we're not happy, just to please other people so we can stay there or something. But when you look back and you think, I remember being used by people just because they had nothing, and they'd hang out with me because I was hanging around with somebody they liked, and they used me to get to them. And then there's been times when I've been asked out on dates and everything because they think I've got money. And it's really funny because I talk weird. I will say things like, I've got my own house, I've got a car, I've got boats, I live in a five-star location on a beach looking over at the islands. And people are like, oh, hi, especially men, hi. And then when they find out your house, your home that you talk about is actually a caravan, and your car is 20 years old, and your boats are actually kayaks. It's like, mm. And I'm like, so you're still interested? And then you can just see the eyes just glaze over, and you're like, but they were poorer than me in their eyes. And so they'd look at me and think, she's got something I want. So they'd pretend to like me to get it. So there was lying, because the truth is, if everybody had all the money they wanted, all the food, all the materials, and anything that you need in your life, if you just had it all given to you, how many people would you eliminate from your life? Because I do think we use people, whether it's intentional or unintentional. I don't think we all mean to hurt people, but we have to survive. And there are a lot of people who live in other countries, and this is the same here, where they'll go abroad for partners because our perception of other countries and people are so different. So it's actually quite funny, because one of my exes ended up, after he'd been with me, he dated, I think it was a Russian girl. And what he did is he told her he had a house and a car, which was kind of true. But what he didn't tell her is that the car was on DVLA and the house was his parents', and he didn't tell them. And so this woman thought he was loaded, and she came onto him really strong. And she was a real woman, not a scammer. She was a real person, and they actually met. And when they met up, she was disappointed because he was it not what she thought it was. And then when she found out that the house belonged to his parents rather than to him, and that the car wasn't really his, it was all on condition, then she was like, oh, I don't know if this is going anywhere and stuff. But she was poor, and she needed somewhere to be, and she wanted to be better off. So you can understand people looking to better themselves, but sometimes you see people use people and manipulate situations to get what they want, and they'll pretend it's what they want, but it's not really. And I find it quite funny, because it's like it is a game of survival, and it does happen a lot. And I don't, I'm trying to think of a situation where I've done it myself. And I know, well, for example, like when I was a child, when we used to go to church and stuff, and they'd say, oh, Jesus is here, and all the rest of it, you got to do this and that, and it's great hearing. And I used to pretend to be a Christian just because I was in the environment full of people like that, and I was too scared to not tell them that I wasn't interested, but I had to go there. So I faked all them years of church, and everyone thought I was a Christian, but I wasn't really, because I was there because I was living a lie. I had to go just for that. But it's like when people pretend to be something they're not as well. And I don't know if you've heard the term. I use this a lot because it's funny, right? Hobosexuals, right? These are the best ones. The hobosexuals are the men who live on the friends' settees, or they're homeless. They've got nowhere to live because the girlfriends kicked them out, usually because they've been, well, whatever reason, they're on their own. And you can sort of see them scanning the location that they're in. Like, is there any women around here who are single, who've got their own house anywhere, anywhere? And they'll be looking all over the place, and they'll zoom in on someone they think's got something they want. And I used to get people attracted to me when I had my own house, and I used to think I was really attractive, but it wasn't me. It was somewhere to live. And I ended up call these people hobosexuals, because they're looking for a home. And what they'll do, and it's a red flag. So if any young women out there or men are watching this at any time in future, just remember, this is a red flag. If you meet somebody and within 3 days of meeting them, they tell you that they're in love with you, and that they've never met anybody like you before, and you're the best thing that's ever happened to them. Be aware that this is not genuine. You don't fall in love with someone you've just literally met. I do believe in love at first sight, but if that person is homeless, they've got no money, they're going to fall in love with you quicker than anybody else. And I've had this happen to me. And I don't know if I've ever told you this story of when I lived on the Isle of Ling, because this is funny. And I moved there, and all I had was a few savings from my house sale, and I sold my house really cheap. So I was only there on a survival game myself. And I was in my house, and I used to get all these people um, suddenly just coming on to me from afar. Oh, hi, hi, how are you, darling, and all that. And I met this guy, and this is funny, and it was on Facebook or somewhere like that. And I never actually met him personal, but he used to write to me all the time, and he'd send me these really long poems and all these really nice like verses and stuff. And I thought, gosh, he's intelligent. And there was he used to say stuff to me like, it's so lovely to see somebody so genuine and so kind, and you're so lovely. And he really came on to me, and he sent me loads of pictures of himself, and he looked like Burt Reynolds when he was younger. And I thought, he's quite good looking. And he was Greek, and he said, I want to come over to Scotland and meet you. And I'm like, you don't know me though. And he went, no, I know that we'll get on because I can feel a connection. Well, I should have known then that that is a red flag, because how can you have a connection with someone you've never actually met? But he did. And anyway, long story short, it went on for weeks and weeks, and I was engaging with him in conversations online, just writing, not video calls. There was no video calls or anything like that. It was literally just writing to each other. And it's because I didn't have anything else going on an evening because I was by myself. So I was just enjoying the banter, if you like. And he fell madly, madly in love with me. And then after about a month or so, he said, I've decided I'm going to come over there and we're going to get married. And I'm like, really? And he went, yeah, yeah, because I know that I love you. Anyway, I didn't keep giving him what he wanted, so he started to get really cheesed off with me. And then one day he turned round to me and he went, look, if you don't let me come over to that island now, I'm just going to go with one of the other women that are after me. And I went, oh, you've got somebody else? And he went, at least 20. And I couldn't stop laughing. And then he sent me a photograph of himself. And he said, I took this photograph of myself yesterday. So this is what you're missing out on now. And it turned out he'd been wearing a toupee and he'd taken it off for the photograph, and he didn't look nothing like Burt Reynolds at all. And I couldn't stop laughing. And I thought, that was a close miss. That was so funny. But he put on a show and pretended to be somebody he wasn't, because he thought I was loaded because I lived on an island, right? But I'm not going to go around saying to people I live in a really cheap house on the island and that I'm currently in between jobs and I'm just living off a few scraps of my savings. I'm not going to say that, you know, but this is what he thought I was loaded, and he thought he could come over and have a free holiday on that island, go um, travelling around Scotland, have a great holiday, and then go home. And I thought, you cheeky article. Wait, oh, hello, looking for Lloyd. Authentic people are there. Yes, they are. It's funny because in my family, we are all authentic, and you either love us or hate us. And a lot of people don't like it because you say it as it is. Well, talking about this subject, though, we say it as it is. I've just said sometimes you will lie just to keep alive, because you've got to pretend something just to keep going. I mean, I've lived flipping heck in the last 10 years. I've lived in a car, I've lived in my van on the road, and I've lived in staff accommodation, and I've lived in a tent. And I did it all on purpose. And it's really funny because I was just so sick and tired of living a life that wasn't for me. And so, as much as it was miserable sometimes, I still did it because I wanted to keep it real. And it's so funny because during all that time, never got chatted up ever by anybody. And these were by people I'd known for years and years, never chatted me up. But as soon as I said, I'm not doing that anymore, I've decided I'm going to go and get a living job. And then I said, I'm living in a 5-star location now, and I've got a good job, and I'm having a great time. Suddenly I was back in town. So if you're going to meet somebody like me, meet me when I'm poor and I haven't got anything other than my personality. Because I'll tell you something, if I got suddenly rich, I would not trust no one, because I'd be thinking, how many times do you have to be there before you think that what is it you really want? Was it me or the money? Get people while they're poor and work with them to get to where you both want to be, and then you're both genuine. Now, you go back in the days when, like, our grandparents were young, and people generally where I came from grew up and worked in the same environment, and everyone knew each other. And so when you started going to work and everything and dating, it was always within the same group of people you already knew. So you'd be dating like your friend's brother or somebody like that, and everybody sort of knew each other, so they knew where they was at. And you couldn't really lie to each other because everybody knew each other's business. And if you knew each other's family, you knew the background. But we live in a world now where it's so much bigger, and people are looking outside of their own environment and their own countries even. You can be anybody you want online. You can lie all the time. And so many people choose to do it because they don't think they're enough. And it's quite sad when you feel like you've got to have a certain amount of money behind your qualifications, because you're thinking other people only want you if you've got X amount going for you. Otherwise, who am I? I'm just nothing. And it's quite a shallow world that we live in, shallow because of what people expect from us versus what we have to give them. And you think, do you have to put on a front and pretend to be something you're not just to please other people? Or do you know what I mean? But people fake it all the time, and they're faking it because 1 in 3 marriages end, or is it 1 in 2 now? And how many people cheat on each other and have affairs? It's rife. So that's not being a genuine, authentic person if you're lying to someone and going behind their back with somebody else. So this is what it's like, isn't it? But oh gosh, I'm thinking of all people I've known over years who they've lied just to survive, because if they told the truth, they'd be out on the street with the bags. And so they've had to pretend their entire existence. Like I said, with partners especially, or family members, having to pretend you're there because you want to be, but you don't want to be, but you're keeping your eye out somewhere else waiting for a better option, and it don't come along. So you'll stay in a situation, whether it be a job or a relationship or anything, just because you're like, I can't be authentic, because if I am, I'm just going to tell everyone I don't like this. And then they'll say go. And then where do you go? So you have to lie. And then you don't like yourself sometimes because you are lying and you're not being honest. And I think the worst ones are like when I've spoken to people and they've said, I'm with this woman or this guy and they're really lovely, but I just don't love them. And you're like, well, why are you with them then? Because I know if I leave, they'll be devastated. So I stay for them. And you're like, well, you're just lying. That's not being real. And they're like, but I don't want to hurt the feelings. So what do you do? And you can get stuck in a trap, and you don't mean to be horrible, but sometimes we have to lie because we don't want to hurt other people. But it's just what it is, isn't it? I've got loads of subjects on here, that I was going to do, but I was looking at some of the subjects I was going to talk about, and they're too heavy and deep for me, I think, because I'm trying to keep my channel out of the conspiracy world, because I keep going there in my head all the time. I keep thinking of loads of things and I'm like, don't go there, don't do it. But I thought just stick to this one for now. So just living a lie just to keep going, like pretending you love somebody just for a house or whatever, but I don't know. Anyway, what time is it now? It's 7:45. Flipping heck. I usually do a live talk about 7 o'clock, and I don't always talk about the subject I say I'm going to talk about because I waffle too much and I just talk all the time. And do you know what's really funny? Most of the time, like while I'm at work, I'm on my own. So I don't talk to nobody all day long. And have you ever found that people who live alone talk the most when someone comes along? Because it's like you've got to get it out your system, because rest at time it's just you. And I don't talk to myself out loud generally. I do it in my head, but when I come on here, I'm like, it's like sitting in a room with loads of people, and I'm like, if no one's talking, I will talk all the time. If I go to a party and no one's like getting up or doing anything, I'll be the one who starts acting up and doing, like just filling gaps. But if I'm around people who were really chatty and talky, I'll just sit in silence and just listen, because I like listening. And there's so many interesting people out there. And I love people who are really deep and really real. Do you know what I mean? And I love people who are adventurous. And it doesn't have to be physically, like going out on trips and stuff, but adventurous in the head. Like I don't think within the norm. I think outside of the box, and I love that, because there's some people out there that I really would love to sit and have a chat with, because I can learn so much from them, because they're really intelligent, but they've got the ability to see beyond the veil and all the lies and everything. And those are my type of people. But if I'm feeling a certain way out and I want some company, I will go and join a group just for the company and just sit there thinking I'm not really enjoying this, because it's just small talk. But I'll pretend that I'm enjoying it just because there's somebody there. But then I go home and I'm like empty inside. I'm like, this isn't really interesting enough to me, to be honest. I like people who can teach me something I didn't know. And it doesn't matter what the subject is, but I like learning stuff. And there's a lot of people out there, and I tend to find that they're the quietest types. They call it still waters run deep. So you think they're boring, but you find the subject that they're passionate about, and suddenly they come alive. And those stories they tell you are amazing. And anyway, I'm running out of steam because I wasn't going to do a live. This was supposed to have been just a vlog that went on for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and I'm just waffling on all the time. But I'm going to go now, because I'm going to go and watch a film or something. And funny enough, while I'm watching the film, I'll probably see all conspiracies within it, because they tell you more truth than news. So I can't help putting that in. But anyway, I'm going to go. If you did watch, thanks for watching. I didn't mean for it to be a live one. If I was going to do a live one, I'd have loads of subjects. So next Sunday, I'm going to do one. And I want to talk about something big. So if anyone's got any ideas, but I have got quite a few on here, and I'll do that next week. So that'll be fun. So I'm going to go. So bye for now. Bye bye.